is a war? What do we find? There's one sea, one sky, one earth. So you and I gotta learn to live together. When one hurts, when one needs, we all gotta learn to live together. Peace, make peace, make peace, peace. Alright, isn't it time when the stars die? Isn't it time mother stop crying? Stop the fighting and the hate. We gotta make peace before it's too late. There's one sea, one sky, one earth. So you and I gotta learn to live together. When one hurts, when one needs, we all gotta learn to live together. Peace, in peace, in peace. One died. Everyone loves, everyone cries. Round the world we're all alike. So why is there war? Why do we fight? There's one sea, one sky, one earth. So you and I gotta learn to live together. When one hurts, when one needs, we all gotta learn to live together. Peace, make peace, make peace, peace. Alright, isn't it time brother stop dying? Isn't it time mother stop crying? Stop the fighting and the hate. We gotta make peace before it's too late. There's one sea, one sky, one earth. So you and I gotta learn to live together. When one hurts, when one needs, we all gotta learn to live together. Peace, in peace, in peace. Alright, peace, peace, together. Peace. How's everyone doing out there? Thank you guys for joining me on Facebook and YouTube on the program Shadow Chasing Show. And tonight I'm actually doing something a little bit different because everybody has been so busy talking about all what's going out there, all the negative stuff, and I decided to get out of that part for a week, at least a week, because or even two, because we deal with this all the time. We're always dealing with, all the bad public and all the bad media and all the bad press and that sort of thing. And, you know, this is what I like to do. So tonight, I want to change things up a little bit because I've had people actually ask me the last few weeks or even more, like, Derrick, you ever thought about talking about communication with animals? Is it possible? Is that what you do? And I said, yeah, I do that sort of thing, animal communication. So, anyways, thank you guys for being in the chat rooms, the Facebook chat rooms, as well as the YouTube chat rooms. And also, you'll find me again on Rumble after this program is over. I do save the audio or the video files, so then you can actually share that with others across the land, across the world. Yeah, I'm actually here, folks. So, Keith says, well, do you have any good news? Yeah, I do have good news. We're talking about animals. we're going to talk about your fur babies. I'm sure some of you guys out there have actually had a pet or two in your life. And some of you may not have had. You may have said, well, I had one on the farm, and he or she, cat, dog, was, they were protector of the farm, or, there's always something out there. The thing is that people may not realize every animal that you've had in your life, even a bird, no matter what it is, was, absolutely a protector for you and a watcher. Sometimes people will have dreams about different kinds of animals. I'm sure you guys, how many guys ever actually have had dreams of bears or dreams of wolves? Like at one time, many years ago, I had a dreamt I was actually sitting on the back of a bear, and like as if he's taking me for a walk, and I'm sitting on his back, and we're just going in through the forest. I mean, that was like phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. So there's always something different that we like to do to, get the people to see what's going on and like what they mean to us. So you do have your dream time with your animals. You do have your physical time with them in physical life. And some people say, I've always wanted to have a dog or a cat or a bird, but I'm not allowed to, or my parents didn't want me to have one. And so sometimes they'll say, oh, I decided not to have one. But in the meantime, whenever you visit your friend's home, I'm sure you guys have done that. You visit your friend's home, and next thing you know, like, hey, wait a minute here. I was at my friend's home, and this cat or dog likes me. They're sniffing me in the crotch, or they're sniffing my butt, or they're liking me. And yet you think to yourself, why do I not have a dog? Some people don't want to take responsibility to babysit one or have one. Or they'll think they'll think that animal or pet will take too much of their time. Well, yeah, it is a great responsibility. It's just like having children, folks. It's like it's a big responsibility as well. So, I mean, that's why people call them their fur babies. I mean, the only thing that most pets don't do is talk to you. And the only ones that do talk to you are your parrots, your parakeets. They're the ones that actually you've taught how to talk to you. But again, they're mimicking your words, but they're not really talking to you and saying, hey, hi, Bob, how are you doing this morning? Or, so and so. Like, we talk to our animals. Why do we talk to our animals? Sure, we have a Dr. Doolittle in all of us. Do you remember Dr. Doolittle? Okay, he was a man that was able to talk to all the animals, and Dr. Doolittle came out way back in the 60s and 70s, and then they made a remake of it, Dr. Doolittle, and then they did another remake of it, Dr. Doolittle. Did you know that? 3 remakes of Dr. Doolittle. 3. It was his name, Harrison, and then the first one, and then the second one, you know who that was, the one he used to swear a lot as a comedian. And the third one was plays Iron Man. And those are your 3 Dr. Doolittles. Okay. The third one is more animation, more AI than it was actually any animals for real. So they didn't use real animals, but every animal was AI. So the first one, there was more animal communication. They really try to make it look a little more sort of like believable, kind of interesting. It was a musical, of course, but it brought a lot of interest in it. People, it was like, so for example, someone said, Well, my horse can't see, so he made a pair of glasses. The first Dr. Dolittle made a pair of glasses for the horse, and the horse can see. Some people had chickens. Maybe they were unable to lay eggs, and then they found out later what the problem was, and then all of a sudden all these eggs are coming out. There's always something in a story, but the thing is that the second character that was helping Dr. Dolittle was a full communicating, full speaking, a parrot that was speaking like every other human, which is not often. Actually, I'm not sure if that's real, but they try, right? And kids loved it. Kids love to believe that the animals did exist, So Keith says, when I was a boy, I could make all 3 calls of the loon. They would come to the dock and swim around. See, you are yourself. You're impersonating the animal. You are wanting to be like them. There's a reverse role, right? We've always admired animals in our lives, and then a lot of people are attracted to wolves. People attracted to bears, eagles, ravens, crows. I mean, if you look at it for years ago, pardon me. This is called sensing. The fathers, for our husbands, they would receive a greeting or a birthday card with a duck on it. Now, why would Dad or Father's Days, why would fathers receive pictures of ducks in their cards, their birthday cards, Father's Day cards, and why would they be giving them things that represent a duck? Any type of symbolic item they would put as a statue, whatever you put on top of the table, looks like a duck, or hangs on the wall, looks like a duck. Why are kids or families actually handing the picture of a duck to a father? So they represent that father as a hunter. That's why they were giving them ducks, because they thought the father is the breadwinner, or the duck hunter, bring home the food. So they were using that duck as a representation, right? Keith would say, when an old beaver would swim by, I would talk to him, and he would come near the dock and look at me. See? Again, when you're a kid, animals are not afraid of you. So they know very well that the child would never hurt an animal, none whatsoever. And that's the reason why I always tell people there's always a certain representation of animals that we have in our home. We don't even realize we have it. Years ago, our grandmothers used to have pictures of birds, 3 little different sizes of birds, and they were made of a chalk ceramic, and they hang them on the walls. There's always symbolisms of birds or animals on the walls. Peacocks, right? Remember that they would use brass, and then they paint the brass, and there's a peacock all over your wall. Like I said, there's symbols of birds. There was actually a lot of statues of birds, even as ornaments on your table. Everything represented as a hunter. If you look at it, if you think about it, even there's these mugs that are made with symbolisms of animals on it. Now, through generations and generations and hundreds of years, everybody has always had something that related to an animal in your home, or animals in your home, because that's what we are attracted to, because we love being connected to nature. And that's why they made these. So then if you could not be outside the nature all the time, they brought the nature in the house. And that was the fondness of thinking, I remember that one time and I had fun. I remember seeing so-and-so picture of this. And if you could not own that particular animal, they would put it on a vase or a picture, and they draw it or paint it. And that meantime, you have it, maybe it's in your house on the wall. There's a picture of you, and you're got a hawk on your arm, and yet you never even had one. But the fact is that it's part of your picture, right? Let's see. Name and your most unusual pet. Last pet was redfoot tortoise. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, people always, let's see, you and I do impressions to different characters as Donald Duck and others. Yeah, Ernie does. Ernie does Donald Duck. People like doing impressions of caricatures. Okay, not characters, but caricatures. Like for example, for Disney. Okay, Disney was very well known for all of its animal characters. Kids are attracted to that. I mean, even for example, you look at, for example, Easter. Okay, we just had Easter. That's the bunny, right? Bunny that got chicks. But I keep on telling people, rabbits don't lay eggs, but yet why are the eggs connected to the rabbit? Because the rabbit's supposed to distribute the eggs. Eggs supposed to have a purpose, has a meaning to it. There's a meaning to the rabbit and the eggs. Fertility, possibly. The others is also, there's more to that. Okay, food abundance, nurturing in the home, right? So there's always a variety of things that are always symbolic to all of us. We don't realize we have different kinds of symbolisms of the time past as well as the present. You'll always hear and see people always saying, well, you know, if I want to keep my happy face on all day, I'll go on a website somewhere, or I'll watch Instagram, or I'll watch Facebook, or anybody that does any social networking, and you'll always see what? Kitty cats and puppy dogs, cats and dogs. And there's always something foolishly stupid that we can't find that's funny with them, whether it's an animal or horses or chickens or you name it. There's always a variety of pets or animals that we were with, that we spent time with, or even just participated watching, and we enjoy the humor of them, right? So, Catherine says that my mother had a pet crow. See, and I, for example, myself on the farm, when I lived on the farm, I mean, I had all kinds of pets. I mean, sure, I had a cow, I had cattle as my, one of my cows, I call her Sissy. She was actually one of my major pets. She was like more than a cow, but she grew up as my closest pet. I have had a wolf. I raised it as my own on the farm. It became a cattle dog. Now, how I got that wolf is because my dad knew of a trapper. Well, the trapper knew my father. My father used to deliver fuel to this man's place out in the foothills of the Rockies. And the guy was a hunter, but he was actually trapping this one particular cougar that was killing people's cows. So he thought he set the trap out that one night before, but he didn't catch the cougar. He caught a wolf, which was a mother of the wolf, which is not what he wanted. That was a mistake. The mother died, but she had four pups, and so he asked my dad if I would want one of the pups to raise as one of my own. My dad asked me, and I said, "Yeah, I'll have it. I'll raise it." So he brought it home, and I raised a wolf. I called him Spike, and that beautiful gray, black and gray wolf, huge when he's full grown. His eyes would actually, when you look at his eyes in the summertime, there's like a very powdered blue, and in the wintertime, he would look totally different. But he actually always protected the house. He didn't like the coyotes, and then the coyotes got too close to the cows or calves. He'd go out there and he'd kill them, bring them back. He's had his share, but he protected. I've actually had three great horned owls that the mother was killed by a rancher, and he believed that the owl was killing his chickens. Was not, but he shot the owl on our land, and he grabbed it, picked it up, threw it in the back of his truck, and so I was upset. I did not know that the owl had young ones until 3 days after I went back to our other property where I was bringing the cows in, and then I found the little owlets coming off the nest looking for their mom, and it was sitting a different angle. Like there's three of them came down. They wouldn't even have their wings yet, no feathers. So because they were hungry, I knew they were hungry, and I thought, well, where's the mom? And I thought, no way, that's got to be her. So I decided to take her home, and them home, and I raised them so they were able to fly. And I raised them up in my own bedroom. I had the whole top of the floor of our house. That was my room. So I raised them in my own room, my own bedroom. was my bedroom, living room, all that upstairs, a whole up floor. So I had them up in my house, and I raised them, and until they're old enough, and I taught them how to hunt, and they were able to fend for themselves. So yeah, it's been busy, and for working with wildlife. And I mean, I've had pets galore, everything from different types of dogs. I've had a border. What have I had? I've had a Saint Bernard. I actually got a Saint Bernard pup because I want him big enough to. I was hoping he'd be more like an intimidator to the people who trespass on the land, but he was more playful than intimidator. He was 250 pounds of Saint Bernard, and all he wanted to do is play. So that's okay. I loved him anyways. Named him Nelson. Uh, and yeah, there's a lot of interesting stuff, folks, that we've been trying to share stories regarding animals that we've raised. And I've always loved having different kinds of animals. We've had cats, dogs, horses, cattle, myself growing up as a kid. So I've had my variety of all kinds. And then when I met my wife, Marina, we've had different variety. We've had dogs, different types of dogs. We had our first dog, and we call her Mercedes. She was half. In one way, she looked like a little dairy cow, the one with little spots and brown and white. We had Mercedes, and we had Spike, and he's a red Doberman, and King Red. And then I had a short time I've had Tawna, and she was actually a black and white, black and tan Doberman, but she was a rescue, and I took care of her until the end. And then we had our other little girl, and she was oh my God, a Japanese dog, Shiba Inu. And so I have not had any dogs since she was the last since we've had them. But as far as cats, I was in the cat furniture business. I was actually making cat scratching posts and cat trees back in the early 90s. And I retired from doing that back in 90, from the late 80s, early 90s, or late 90s. I was doing about 10 years worth of making cat scratching posts and cat houses and stuff. And we were very well known. And we had 9 cats as our models. So and every cat had different personality. Every one of them had different personality. And like I tell people, every animal that we've had, they'll always like to come and when they do pass away, they like to come to you in a dream time, and they like to talk to you. The most recent one that I've had with my animals, after Mercedes passed away, she'd come to my dream, and she would try to get my attention to follow her. And when you're in a dream state, you don't think of them being gone. All you think of is, oh, there she is. But she's not on the leash, and you're thinking, oh my God, I better grab her before she gets hit by a car or something, because we weren't used to seeing her out in the open. But you're not thinking about it. All you think about is like, oh, I want to grab her and make sure she's protected. And then you realize after, she doesn't need to be protected. But what our dogs do, they like to show us something, and so they get us to follow them until we pay attention to whatever your dream is, something you're supposed to see as far as symbolism, or something to be wake up. Because if you didn't have your dog, whatever you're closest to you would never pay attention to what you're supposed to see in your dream time. And so what I learned from that is a lot of times you'll always have an animal come through. And again, before, as I mentioned earlier this evening, you'll even have dreams of bears, wolves coming to your door. How many of you guys out there actually have had wolves howling outside say you're in a house. This is your dream time. Say you're in this building, and you can hear the wolves baying or howling in your thing. You're trying to keep them from coming in the door, and you can feel this pushing of the door, or even you can hear bears growling. And let's put it this way, my wife is so funny. I remember one time she was dreaming, and she was trying to protect me, And she told me one time, and I'll never forget that day, she said she had a dream about these bears and she thought they're going after me. And I was awake. I just got out of bed. I was going to the bathroom, heading back, and I can hear my wife going, "Er, and she's growling in her dream. And I'm going like, what is going on with my wife? She's growling in her dream. So she woke up within a matter of maybe a little bit after, and I said, "Hon, did you remember your dream?" And she told me her dream. She said she dreamt that there was bears trying to get into into our house or our building, and they're pushing on the door. And I guess before that, the door opened up, and as they're coming closer, my wife started growling at the bears, and they backed up and they stayed away from her. She was growling at the bears. So, so like we take on the personality of the animal. And so this is why I talk about this, because animals in the spirit world have always been with us. Every generation. You'll see statues of animals everywhere. And for example, people always have an idol of their own. They will have statues of bears outside their businesses. We've always been collecting all kinds of stuff in our home, I'm sure. There's a lot of people out there are collectors of birds, collectors of hawks, eagles, owls, right? And they're all symbolic. I mean, they all have a purpose. And even in wildlife, okay, even in wildlife, I'm just saying, I'm just trying to think of two stories, but even in wildlife, these animals are important to us. They're protectors. Some people have phobias. Some people have belief systems, like they have these beliefs that an owl is evil, and it's not. It never was. But if you create an institution of using a certain animal as a symbolism, and if you use that institution as a negative, then you're creating it as a negative, and that's exactly what you can create it as. But these owls or eagles or bears or any other animal don't want to be part of the negative. They want to be loved. They want to be cared for. But people have been known to shapeshift into animals. I mean, for generations, you'll always hear indigenous stories. You'll hear African American stories. People and they can transition they shapeshift into different animals. Whether there's actually a story about an African American man who actually was able to shapeshift into a lion. There is a guy who is known to shapeshift into a bear. One shapeshift into a wolf. Every one of us apparently had the ability at one lifetime before, thousands of years ago. Many of us had the ability to shapeshift into animals. And one of my lady friends who actually went to Peru, okay, many years ago, went to Peru, and she was going to go down, and she didn't like to be with any tourists as much. She likes to explore on her own, which I don't think is a good idea, but she does. And at one time, she was walking in. There was a village just off to the right of where the tour bus was, and nobody was supposed to go down into that village. But she took a chance, and she got out, and instead of going with the rest of the crew, she head down that road. And it's like your typical old gravel road. It was never paved or nothing, just a regular road. A traveled road, and she's walking about halfway down the village road, and then out comes this llama. And what a llama looks like, guys. Came up from the side of the ditch, came up on the road, and stood in front of her, like wouldn't let her go through. It kept stepping back and forth, like it was like its own little soldier. It was blocking the road, wouldn't let her in. And yet it was friendly, but it wouldn't let her in. And so she had to pretend to deke him out, so to speak. She'll just turn around, walk away, come back, and see if she can just pass him real fast. But as she did this, when she said, well, it's okay, have a wonderful day, take care, and she wanted to walk away, and then she turned around really fast, the llama was gone, and there stood this older man, like old man. And he was a medicine man of the village. And the medicine man said to her, and he says, you're not allowed into this village. You're not one of us. But he says, but you know a man named Whiteskycloud. And she goes, yes. And she goes, you need to give this to him. Now, I did not know the man whatsoever. Now, this is many, many years ago. This is way before internet even existed. And so he gave her whatever I was supposed to receive, and then she gave it to me after. I'm not going to say what it is, but he gave it to her to give to me. Now, apparently, it was a protection of sorts. So this is what happens, folks. We always get things given to us. We don't know why, but everything is symbolic, right? Nick says, I live in a small town, Saskatchewan. I often hear howling early a.m. And yeah, always. And then Geisha says, I always have heard owls hooting all types of days or nights. So if I felt they were watching in on me and checking in on me too, and they let me know everything is okay. Nick McConnell, Brother Bear, an interesting kids cartoon shapeshifting into a bear. It's true. Yeah. And like these are traditions. I mean, these are not just made up storytelling. People say, oh, once upon a time. These things did happen. People were able to transition and change into shapeshift into an animal. And that's what this man did. He shapeshifted from a llama to a person, a human being. And yet it was wonderful to receive the gift from this man. And I knew what it was for. But again, we always have things sent to us or given to us or gifted to us for a reason, to protect us. And that's the reason why people always have animal protectors. Nice reason why we have a bear that's our part of protection. Or if you, for example, you could be a clan. Okay, some people are bear clans, some people are wolf clans, frog clans, whale, orca clans. Okay, dolphin clans. There's so many different kinds of clans, and whether it's indigenous, there's many, whether for everything from the West Coast way over to the next of the islands like Hawaii and all them. Everyone has a clan connected to their family. And so you represent the animal that is part of that house. Okay. And you'll always see symbolisms of these animals, whether they're on the house poles. And sometimes there's stories about those, telling the stories about these certain clans and how they became who they are. Even the woodpecker, even birds, even ravens. Ravens were prominent, and so were the woodpeckers, as also the hummingbirds. I mean, sure, a lot of you guys know about your hummingbirds. They're very symbolic. So hummingbirds are, most people will say hummingbirds actually, my mother used to, I was always attracted to hummingbirds all the time, and so is my wife. And the thing is, it's been known that hummingbirds were also considered as communicators from the spirit world. So if a loved one that's closest to you will send you a hummingbird, and I've had people say, I don't know why this hummingbird landed on my hand, on the back of my arm, and it's not leaving, even though I'm trying to say you can go now, but just stays there. Why? Not because if you fed it or not. The fact is it's staying there because letting you know that it is there. And say, hey, there's somebody here in spirit world that wants to say hello to you, and that they're watching over you, that you're not alone. And so this is the reason why we have a different understanding of why animals are important to us. That's the reason why, like I tell people, most people, like I've been an animal communicator and animal finder. I've had people actually many years ago, a lady friend of mine, her name is Donna, and she actually had a rescue society. She was actually helping family rescue animals. And one of her lady friends, her name, this lady had a dog named Rosie. This is back in the late 80s, early 90s. And they heard about my work. And so Donna asked me, if I could find Rosie, the dog, because suddenly the dog went missing. They said somebody took the dog out of their backyard and then disappeared. It's gone. So what I learned to do is become a remote viewer. Okay, I'm a remote viewer. So um, she said, "Well, can you remote view where the dog is?" And I was on the phone with her, and I said, "Well, the first thing I'm getting here from them," and I explained it. I said, "I'm seeing it's in the same area where you have the dog, but as I would say, there's like many blocks away, maybe a mile or half a block away, half a mile away." And I said, it's by the SkyTrain. Now, I'm in the Vancouver region, so off Kingsway, there's a SkyTrain there. I said, you're going to have to put posters up in that area, lots of posters, because I'm seeing a house that's yellow with white trimming on it. And I'm seeing, if I'm inside the house, I'm seeing this whole blanket look like there's leaves all over it. So that could have been a blanket. I wasn't sure if it was actually the blanket or was a plant. And I saw it. I said, I'm seeing through the dog's eyes that it's hiding under the bed or hiding somewhere under. What happened? I said, but you need to definitely have to put the posters on. If you don't put posters out, you're not going to find the dog. And she says, and they asked me why. I said, for some reason, these people have something that they cannot see or hear, whatever one of the two, but whatever it is, they have to see it first on the post for you to find your dog. So what happened was they waited for a couple of days and they get a phone call and they say, we think we have your dog. And so the people came over, they went to the place and they walked in. It was actually, the house was yellow with white trim. They walked into the house and they walked to the bedroom, and there was a quilt that had leaves colors that looked like multicolored leaves all over it. And under the bed was the dog. Rosie was under the bed. And so they brought Rosie out. She, like the lady that was there, the dog, Rosie came out, came to her arms and gave her licks, and she was all happy. And the people said, how come? And now, apparently, what Donna had told me, she says that they advertised this on TV for 2 weeks. And there were phone calls, but they weren't the correct ones. But the reason why nobody answered that phone call being on TV, because the people themselves that lived in that house were deaf. They could not hear. They were deaf, so all they seen was on TV, but they didn't hear the story. They showed a picture of her on TV, but didn't say lost, just says, oh, she's missing. So, but when they saw the posters on the poles, they knew then that was the dog that they feel that they found. Now, what happened was Rosie, someone thought that Rosie was a pup, stole her from the yard. And then when they realized after that Rosie was too old, they let her go into the street. And then Rosie somehow ended up in the front lawn where these people were that were deaf, and they picked her up and they brought her in the house. And then they called someone up to say, we have a lost dog. But they did see the sign, and that made a whole lot of sense. So these things can happen. This is from, like I said before, and I've had people call me even after that, where even a little boy, or like I said, the mother lost a guinea pig. Then she couldn't find where the guinea pig was missing. Like a guinea pig is missing. And she said her son is going crazy about a lost guinea pig, or her daughter should say. So I said to her, the guinea pig's not indoors. The guinea pig's outside. He goes, no, there's no way. The guinea pig couldn't not be outside. And I said, yes, it's outside, but I don't think it's alive. I said, but you need to look under the cord of wood. A cord of wood. I said, do you have a fireplace? Yes, I do. Do you have stacks of wood, like all piled up? Yes, I do. You'll find your guinea pig in there. And she goes, no way. I said, go in there. So she went out back and she picked up about 3 or 4 of the cords of wood, and she found the guinea pig froze to death. But she can't figure out how he ended up in there, because there's no way he could have fit, and why so high. Found out later her youngest son, who was younger than the sister, actually took him outside, played with him, dropped him, knew that he hurt him, and he died, so he hid him under the cord of wood so he wouldn't get in trouble. So, is it the fault of the boy? Sort of. But I mean, accidents do happen, right? And the mother did find him, and she goes, I don't know how you do that. I said, I just do. You know, I'm not saying whose fault it is or saying this is what I saw. But the mother was not, she was going to say, no, you're crazy. You're crazy. I said, just go outside, have a look. Just humor me. Just go. And she did. She called me back and she thanked me for they did find it. It was passed away. It froze to death. It's possible it was alive at the time, but it was actually snowing. That day it snowed outside, so this little thing did not make it. But I don't think they had any. This little guinea pig, I don't think they've had it that long. It's something that's new. They've had it for maybe, she said, 3 or 4 months. So this little boy didn't. I don't think this little guy really knew the responsibility of keeping it in the house, but he wanted to play with it outside. You know, kids like to be like that. So I mean, you just know. And I don't think the mother even knew that. You know, I don't think the mother even said to the boy, "Don't take it outside." So he just did. Now, Catherine says, ravens often represent ancient wisdom, intelligence, transformation, and they are respectful messengers bearing the weight of untold visions and prophetic whispers. Yes. Thank you very much for your meaning. Let's see. Nick in the chat room and then, okay, YouTube, and you are going to get Ron Mercury on again. Oh, are you? Yeah, later on. I've been bugging Rob Mercury on, but it's up to him right now. These guys have been busy, absolutely busy. They live up in South Africa. So Rob's actually a really good guy. He's him and his wife mix. They are Rob does remote viewing like I do. So retired military he is, and he's a nice guy, super nice guy. So I left him a message hoping that they get back to me so we can get some stuff in there for them. And then next week I'm going to have Bill Hauser in the chat in this studio, and we're going to be talking to people in spirit with the Ghost Box. So that's going to be kind of cool as well. Now, questions. I got some questions that were sent to me here, so I'm going to put them in here right now. Do our pets meet us in heaven? Yes. Depending which ones, I cannot give you details which ones that ones are the most recent or the ones you've had from the very beginning. I would say every one of them. You know, any animal that you felt that you were the closest to, or animals, or even everyone will meet and greet you. I mean, that's how it works, folks. When we cross over in our spirit world, your animals will meet you. You're not just alone, because there's many times that I've actually have done mediumship where I've talked to people, do messages, and I'll suddenly have an animal come through, and I'll try to give you the details of what the animal was like, and he or she, and what kind of breed possibly, and then you know, there's always something there that we always like to talk about. You know, I mean, regarding the their breed, or meets in heaven. There's the animals, and also the communication. I'm trying to think about the word. They always like to communicate with you, and they're in the spirit world. They have thought forms, so you can actually hear them speaking to you. It's almost like there's an understanding. You know, as we always like to have. Everyone's actually kind of hoping that we somehow can actually have that same brainwave thinking of a dog and a cat. Like, how can we do that? Can we really speak to them, or say, you know, speak, and you do all these tricks so speak, so things with them? You can. It takes time, and there are things that they love to do. You know, people may not realize dogs will do anything for you. I mean, every animal, every cat, dog, you name it, whatever's with you, they give you nothing but unconditional love. I've never come across any animal that hates you guts unless you did something bad to them, right? So that's just the way it is. I mean, I've never had an animal that actually harmed me, and I've even outdoors. There's times I walk outside. I mean, I'm walking down a trail and I see a snake. I pick it up, look at it, put it back down again. Or if I have anybody with me, I freaked my son out one time many years ago. My son brought his girlfriend down for a visit back in 2004-ish for a visit, and then we're walking in the bush, and there was a small garter snake. I knew all about all these animals, and I was giving a little bit of a tour going through the forest, and I seen this little snake went across and it scooped it like right out of my hand, like, here you go, and they say there's a snake, and they were like, whoa, you know, I freaked them out. I'm able to pick up. And then I got a photograph of my wife took a picture of me, and I actually have a photograph of me holding on to a red snake that came across our yard. I'm not afraid of them. I mean, an animal's an animal. They're not going to harm you. I would love, I mean, here's my major dreams. I would love to have like lots and lots of hummingbirds come into my yard and feeders. I mean, we do feed our birds. We have a lot of birds that we feed, regular birds, different varieties of wild birds. But I would love to have a whole pile of hummingbirds and just hold out your little thing and they come and feed off your hand or whatever. Next question. Does everyone have a spirit animal? Yes, they do. I mentioned before. Example, animal totem, what they mean to us. Depends on every individual, what you're attracted to the most. So if you feel that you're attracted mostly to wolves, or like you said, even earlier tonight, everyone's different. Owls are prevalent. I mean, to me, I work with owl medicine. I mean, I use all kinds of feathers. Even the feathers themselves have a purpose. You know, you can have a goose, you can have a wild turkey, and you can have a duck feathers. You can have some people like chickens more. You know, I've actually people I know that actually have pet chickens. There's nothing wrong with that. Pet roosters. We had quail. You know, the tame ones, the little quail. We used to go to every year. You go to the exhibition, and they would show you all these little quails, and this baby, and these little eggs are in the brooder, and then they would say, well, you want to get some chicks, and then you pay X amount of dollars to take these chicks home. And I actually took an old cabinet, TV set cabinet, tore it all apart, put fencing all around it, and made a little pen out of it. And we had in our apartment, and we raised quail. We had some baby quails grow up as young quail, little baby quails. So in our apartment, it was back in 2000. No, before that. Wait, let's go back, Derek. 1986. Yeah, 1986, peony. Okay. Have you ever seen one of your passed away pet visit your dreams? That's where I mentioned that earlier today. Yes. Do they try to get your attention to follow them to? Yes, I do that. This is what I'm trying to point out. They are saying, do you bury them or cremate them? It depends on you. It depends on you. If you prefer to cremate your pet, your fur pet, that's up to you. It's a choice wherever you put them. You know, and not everybody. Some people actually rather cremate them and then they'll keep themselves. I mean, I got a couple of my dogs still here that I cremated, and I still have them here in my own home. And not because I don't have a hard time losing them. I just enjoy their energy. Funny thing, when I had my last dog and she was cremated, when the girl handed me back the ashes of my dog, I could feel the energy. Like I started crying. I was literally in tears because the energy was like coming back so strong, telling me I'm here, you know. And even though that dog was in ashes, but their energy, their consciousness was still there. And they were so happy that they were with us, or with me, that I had them back. And I felt very guilty. It tore me apart that I had to put her down, you know. And that's one thing that's the hardest thing when you are losing. I mean, when these little guys get old, when they get to that point that they can't take care of themselves no more, and you can't take care of them, everyone has to make a decision whether they want to they want to have them. I don't want to even say the word put down. They're ready to leave, and sometimes maybe it's before their time. You know, some people will have them leave this world too soon. You know, you think, well, maybe it's their time. We should go take them. You know, and no. One thing I learned, what Spirit taught me. We had one of our cats here. Her name is Charlie. We've had Charlie for 14 years. Charlie actually had a stroke. I've never had a cat before in my life that had a stroke. And Charlie couldn't walk with her hind end. It suddenly just collapsed. And then she was okay after. So I carried her. I made a homemade shoulder bag where I made a material. And I carried her around and fed her, and she got to go to the bathroom, and we like did all that and some. We kept her. She was with us for another 17 more months, and she lived a longer life than she was supposed to. Because most people would put their animal down very quickly. They say, "Oh, they can't take care of themselves. Okay, we'll just put them down." I had her with me every day. My wife had her with her every day. Whenever we used to exchange her back and forth with us, and she was fed well. She was still in one way she was still healthy, but her body was slowly to the point where there's one time she went into a coma for 5 days, and we thought we're going to lose her that day because we laid her on one of her little beds, and she laid there for 5 days, no food, no drink. And I thought, okay, she's going to pass. That's my thinking. And Spirit came to me that night, and they said to me, she's not leaving. She wants to stay, and she's asking for your permission if you take care of her. Asking you a favor, take care of her, and she'll open her eyes. And I said, yeah, I'll take care of her right to the end. And so I got up out of the living room, walked into our bedroom, and walked into the living room, and she suddenly opened her eyes, and I picked her up. And I had her for another 17 more months. So it was at that point where she wanted to stay as long as she could, for the longest her little body can hold out, So, and that's what I'm trying to tell people. Now, okay, Catherine says, my grandson's cat, Roy, had a heart attack at the age of 7 and passed. Now, I'll tell you why, okay? A lot of these cats today are having heart attacks because of what they put into the food. You have to start to look at your food properly. Like some of these companies are making garbage food. You think it's good quality, high quality, but you think you're saving money. You're not, because I know you love your cat and all, and people say, well, I'm not really used to paying this greater amount of or organic, but you know what? That's what organic means. Organic means it's real, true meal, not fake. Let me give you guys a bit of a story about the history of where dog business came from. Years and years ago, during the time period of the pirates, okay, the time of the guys who were actually at sea, and you always hear the word sea dog. Okay, you hear that word sea dog. He's an old sea dog. Well, that word came from a captain who actually had his own dog on his ship. Now, mind you, many times they would actually be at sea, and there was a shortage of meat. And not everybody was able to eat meat, but people were eating a lot of biscuits, right? And not everybody back then could fish because they didn't have fishing rods. So they were taking a chance of crossing the ocean, and whatever was available on that ship, if there's not enough meat and not enough rats, so to speak, then they actually would, and they never ate the dog, and the captain refused to have their dog killed or eaten, so they would actually make sea biscuits or biscuits. The baker or the cook would make these biscuits and give them to the dog so the dog can survive. And that's where the biscuit came in, or the word sea biscuit came in. Sea biscuit, which was from the pirate time periods. The old English shipmates, they're the ones that created the word sea biscuit and or biscuit for the dogs. And so they made from something really cheap, basically a chunk of bread, bunch of bread, and they used to put berries in it, like cranberries, whatever was available for berries, and they'd mix it all up, and that's exactly what the dog ate, and it survived. It was healthy, it survived, but it still needed meat. Anybody who calls himself how do you say this word gently? Anybody who does not eat meat, let's use that word. You cannot feed your dog not meat. You have to feed your dog meat. You cannot do exactly what your dog is doing. Their stomach lining is not the same as yours. Okay? You have to feed your dog a meat consumption. If you don't like the smell of meat, then don't have a dog. Okay, I'm serious. Because you can starve your dog, and dogs will come down with side effects and skin conditions because you may be a vegan. Dogs are not meant to be vegans. they're carnivores or omnivores. They can eat. They're omnivores. That means they can eat different varieties of vegetables, grasses, you name it, for digestion, but they also have to have meat. That is very mandatory because their stomach lining is not the same as ours. Why do you think they have canines? We also have canines right here, but they're not as sharp as the rest of the dogs. That's why they call you an old dog, right? We bite into meat as well. We're not just meant to be vegans. You can't survive on vegan alone. So, a lot of times the food they're feeding a lot of the animals today, these bulk companies, they don't always give you proper product, and they actually will throw together major nasty intestines and fat and gristle and muscle, which does not really have the proper nutrition for the dog, okay, and or cat. And so, but they think they can survive with that. No, they can't. You have to give them proper 3 basics. Thank you very much for putting in there, Catherine. 3 basics your dog and cat supposed to have. The average of beef, chicken, and or fish. Okay, they have to have one of the three or all three, and you have to change. You got to balance their diet, like balance their intake, because if you look at it, so let's pretend one thing. Okay, and I've done a lot of major research on animals. Let's pretend that your dog is a bear. Okay, let's pretend your dog's a bear. Okay, now bears migrate in the winter. That means they don't eat much, but they will accumulate as much food as meat. They'll accumulate much meat, as much as they can, for the winter migration. So they're in a cave and they're quiet and they're sleeping for those next 3-4 months, out of sight, out of mind. When spring comes around, they wake up, and the first thing they go for is not meat. They go for the berries. That brings them their nutrition. They start eating greens, anything that relates to that and has lots of color. Then they go to the next step, which is actually fish. They go along the shorelines and they start snapping in fish. That gives them their vitamin B, all three of their vitamins. They have to have, that's their natural diet. Then later on the way, when it gets colder or cooler at night, then they go after the deer or anything that is wild. That's what they call wild meat deer, a wild meat bear. But they don't go after you in the springtime. They won't, because that's not how their their gut works. Like, for example, a bear won't wake up and try to eat you, not first thing in the spring. They have to have the greens and the berries first, because the body has to create proper nutrition and balance of the diet. So that means your dog is going through the same conditions. In the summertime or springtime, you should be giving your dogs proper, nutritious, with berries, mixture of berries that is edible for them to eat. Mix it in and make your own biscuits for your dogs. Guaranteed you're going to get major results. Okay. For your cats, okay, learn how to feed. I mean, cats are like you think about like a lion or a tiger. What the cats, I mean, yes, lions and tigers don't migrate, but they are a type of animal that they'll eat when they're ready to eat. Okay, if you put food in front of them all the time, if you leave it on the front of them outside all the time, then they'll be eating consistently. That's how they get overweight. You don't necessarily have to do that. What you do is you only put out the plate when they want to eat. They'll let you know it's time to eat. So if you have set up a timing system, say, okay, we're going to feed my cat at 7 in nighttime or 6 at nighttime, like I do, for dinner. You bring out the food. They'll gather. They're not going to hork down the food. They'll eat what they're ready to eat with. And if you want to give them something a little as a bonus before you go to bed, no problem. So my wife will give them a couple of little extra different types of biscuits, and these are for the they call it for their teeth. So the dental part keeps her teeth nice and clean. So she says, "Come brush your teeth, and they'll come in, they'll chew on 2 or 3 little tiny biscuits, and that's to loosen up their, like, basically to clean up their teeth, so they don't have all that build up in their mouth." And I'm acting like a vet, so to speak, but I've learned a lot. Diane says, I had a wolf dog for 13 years after she loved fruit and vegetables, frozen, etc. Yeah, wolves do. I mean, when I had Spike, well, Spike actually was called an Alaskan Bane wolf, a big, huge guy. And but he was, and Spike would never hurt anybody. Like for example, if you want to pet him, he'll smile. His teeth will just like he thinks you're going to pet him. He's happy, like smile, like pet me. And yet people go, ooh, because he shows his teeth. He wasn't growling. He was smiling because he was happy. But that's exactly what people respond, right? Let's see. Diane says, yeah, the filler in the dry pet food is unbelievable. Yeah, you got to really watch carefully. I mean, if you want to make your own dry pet food, do it. I mean, you can. People are actually, there's some really good people out there that have been making their own dry pet food, or you can make your own wet. I used to work for a company called Amore. Won't anymore, but I used to. Won't because the original person who actually owned the company was supplying the best quality, high quality meats. We made the best raw meat, okay, and it was a mixture of all kinds of fish, you name it. We had the best quality. We were the best top quality company that I worked for. I was actually one of the webmasters, but my wife actually was the boss working for the company. She was the manager. But the company changed hands after that. But Amore was really, really good company, and for a couple of years. And then the new owner came in and screwed it, changed everything, and it's all like horrible food. Everything's all guts and whatever they have. Like it wasn't being the same anymore. They got cheap about it, so I don't recommend. Sorry, that's my opinion. Let's see. Yeah, Diane says people were terrified of her smiling at me. Yeah, I know, and they love it. If you brush your dog's teeth and they're gone, and you think they're mad at you, they're not. Your dog's not, your wolf's not mad at you. They're smiling because they're happy. I remember Nelson. I have my Saint Bernard, and Nelson is like 225, 250, big, huge dog. And I remember back in 1976, and there was these two girls that friends of mine. Her name is Judy and Sandy, and they had this little GT car. I mean, those little GM cars, like little tiny GTs, and it's like a box car. So they were driving. Like I was on the farm then. They drove into the driveway. It's a low riding car, and in the summertime, the girls both had both their windows down, and they drove in. Well, what does Spike do? Spike knew the girls, and he ran up to them. He walked into their passenger window from Sandy's side into Judy's side, and Spike and his ass end was on one side of the other of the window, and his head is on the other side, and he was shaking his body like he was happy as all heck. And the girls are trying to get him off of them, like get him off of them. How can you get a big Saint Bernard off of you? And he was that big, fitting in a small little GT car. I'm telling you, it was funny as heck. If I had a camera back then in 76, I would have took the picture, but we didn't have cameras available for us then. That would have been absolutely historical, right? Yeah, my sister does much healthier homemade. Yeah, it's good to make your homemade food for dogs. It's really worth your while, guys. It helps a lot. Hey, Susie. Yeah, we're talking about our pets and communicating with our pets, and talk about the health for them. Okay, let's see here. Now, should a pet owner who lost their Furby rush to get say you lost one of your Furbies that passed away, should you rush and go get another one to replace the one that you just, your heart got broken and because one had passed away? Should you immediately get another one? I recommend not yet. I would say these are people that asked me questions already. So email me questions, text me questions. I would say not yet, but give yourself at least a good 6 weeks to 6 months before you're ready. If you want to, I mean, you're not there. And I need to remind you guys, you're not there to replace the pet that you let go, that you lost that in that time. You're bringing in a new young one that wants to comfort you. Okay, so it's like, our house, when Charlie was our last cat that we had. I mean, we were pretty well only had one cat left. After Charlie passed away, my wife had has her leukemia. but she had no one to communicate with. See, Charlie kept my wife busy, focused on her instead of herself, her own symptoms. And that kept her emotionally focused on taking care of Charlie than just herself. And it helped for both of us. It was like a therapy. Charlie was our therapist cat. And cats are great therapies. For anybody who's an elder, are great for therapy. If you have a dog or puppy, start off with a puppy. I don't care. Great for therapy. No matter what it is, the animals you have is great for therapy because you're not living alone. And I'll tell you one thing, it was so hard to be in a house. Sure, you have your partner, your wife, your husband, you're together, but you got so used to having animals in the house. The house was so quiet without a TV on. It was hard to deal with. Okay. Because you're used to seeing the cats walk into a room, you see a dog walk in the room, so you're playing with them all the time. You go for walks with them, you take them out, you grab the leash, you go for a walk with them. That was your major routine. That was everyone's routine. But that routine wasn't there anymore. There was no leash to take the dog out for a walk. There was no cat to play with, to throw the mice or the fur balls or anything that you want to play with them. Everything was all put away. There was nothing in the house. The house felt empty. It felt like all there was my wife and I, but it felt like there was something missing. The energy wasn't there. I'm so used to seeing animals around me all the time. All my life, grew up with it. It's so hard to see with no animals around me. Like my cat right now is at the door. BB's right there by the door, and she's crying because she wants in. She wants to come and see me. But I got it closed because I don't want her to step on my computer and boom, 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 and then the whole show's over. But what I'm pointing out is that people are asking, should they replace a cat or a dog or their pet or a Furby or a fur pet immediately after? It's your choice. It's up to you. If you feel you need to, then, go for it. Let's see. Eva says, yeah, that is why I got a new pup after putting down my previous dog 3 weeks ago. I do not have a significant other, and this is why my friend gave me one of his pups. See, Eva, and it does help, doesn't it? It's great therapy. You're not there to replace your dog that you once loved. You are filling in a space that you're used to having with you, that it occupies your time because you want to nurture something that's brought into this world that God created and God gave you. And that's why we're here, right? Been there regarding our last animal who died a couple of, that stupid thing comes up on Facebook. It says lose your connection, who died a couple of years ago. Exactly. So we've got a lot of people today who are questioning, should they replace? I don't think that. I'm not, you know what? Here's the word. I wouldn't even like to use the word replace, but I'd say if you want to bring another new one in the house, yes. Because I'll tell you this, so I'll tell you why. This is honest to God's truth. I've seen it where, how do you say this word? How do you say this correctly? I've seen it where I've seen kittens. My wife and I, we're very fortunate. We got 2 new kittens. We had them over a year ago now, when my wife was quite sick. But these little girls, they're only 6 weeks old, and we didn't get them. We didn't take them at 6 weeks because we wanted to. We took them 6 weeks because the mother didn't want them. The mother cat did not. She rejected them after that. So a friend of mine says, "You want to come and get these kittens because the mothers rejected them, and we can't. No one has the time to take care of them." And they already knew of my knowledge of taking care of cats. So I said, "Yeah, we're coming down. We'll come get them now." So they had the kittens ready for us, and my wife had everything all prepared. She had little cage set up and the whole system where little girls had their bedding and their litter box and their food and their milk and not milk. There's a thing we make for them. Food system, like it was all set up where they're all babysat. I mean, these little girls are spoiled. I think this is one of the most spoiled kitties we ever had. Really, out of all the kitties we've had in our lives, this is the most spoiled. So my wife she named her two cats, our two cats, and one's called Tsetse Bear, okay? Another one's called BB, or BB Firefly, she calls her, because she's like a little firefly. She just runs around everywhere. She's like in the dark, just boom, 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 boom. So it's called like BB Firefly. It's her language that she speaks. So BB actually had like a Croatian mixed words. So she's Tsitsis means like in Croatian means cat or kitty. So Tsetse Bear, and she's like a little bear. She's, so Tsetse Bear. That's how she names her. Like every one of us always have a certain nickname or certain caricature or character we think how our cats are or animals are like. So we give them a name. I've always loved the name Spike, because it gives you that kind of like funky name for a dog, right? So I don't know. I think I've had 4 Spikes in my life because I love them. I love that word. But I mean, that's pretty well on purpose. What the normal name where most people give their cat anyways, or a dog. I'm not sure if anybody's ever named their cat Spike, but dogs, yes. So let's see here. I got my dog Ryder, a dog, and okay, for a company while I was at work. An Angel, I was much younger. So after 16 years with Ryder, still have Angel. We shared in our loss. Yeah, Lori, thank you for sharing that. And it's amazing, folks, that and also if you're able to get a pair. I mean, like if you got one cat, get a second one, because they want to keep them busy. If you're not around for one, like say you're leaving at the house and going somewhere shopping, cats love to be kept busy at nighttime. If they're not going to be sleeping with you in your own bed at night, it's always good to have an extra one with you, or extra one else, so they can play. Keeps them exercising more. They're more active, so it's always good to have pairs. And if you're able to have pairs, I mean, unless you're walking your dog a lot, then there's no problem there. But if your dog likes to be really, really active, I recommend to get a second puppy. Because again, the older dog will always teach the younger little puppy all its habits. So that's how it works. I mean, when when Spike was a puppy, was Spike a puppy? No. Spike was full grown, and Mercedes was a puppy. And Mercedes was learning how to catch a frisbee, but she would chase Spike to learn. Like, she's really fast. She was very, very fast, but she was part collie and part, was it the breed? I think it was a part shepherd, but she's more like there was 3 breeds in her. But anyway, she was just running. She can go. And I taught Spike. I mean, how many people do you know that actually can throw throw a frisbee in the air? And I had a Doberman, and he'd jump up 6 feet high and catch the frisbee and back down, bring him back, and do it again. So I taught him that, and then Mercedes started learning how to catch frisbees too. And those two had a great time together. They're best friends, best of buds. And then I brought Tana in after. And she's a much older girl. She was actually a Doberman, a black and tan. I rescued her. The people who owned her was horrible with her, and they kept her outside all the time in the winter, and she had the worst of all arthritis. I mean, Dobermans are known for that, and they wouldn't let the dog go be indoors ever, and that does not right. So I brought her in my house. I just said to the people, I said, I'm taking the dog. You have no right to do this to her. You're keeping her outside. She's not a watch dog. She's a dog. And that's our dog. I said, no, it's not. I'm taking the dog. Call the cops all you want. The cops will just say, he's got the dog. You can't do anything about it. So I gave her the best 3 years of her life. I brought her with me and back home, and she got to meet Spike and Mercedes, and they all had a great time together. In fact, Tana was one of my best dogs. I mean, I taught her some stuff, but I didn't realize she's that darn good. She catches on real quick. And we had a guy try to break into my shop. I had a warehouse shop, and there was a back door, and it apparently was unlocked. I didn't realize I unlocked it, but I didn't think anybody would ever walk in. And there are a lot of things I taught Tana, but I didn't realize she was smart, like really taught. Like she was a very obedient, smart dog, and I guess she must love me. But I taught her things, and I would say hold, and she'd hold. If I said bite, she'd bite. If I said Tana, stop, I would say like whatever, say certain words, but and she stopped, and she loved it. And then I gave her treats. Well, this guy came in, no word of a lie. This guy came into my shop, and he was a sales rep. Never knew him. He had nothing to do with my shop. Just walked right in. Hello, sir. Blah, 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 blah. And he walked right in, and my dog Tana went, "Rrr," and she went for him, and he backed up against the wall, and she had her 2 upper and lower teeth like right in his crotch, and she held her teeth like this, like on his crotch. And I was upset. I go like, what the hell are you doing here? And I just said, Tana, hold. And she held. And the guy goes, ah, ah, ah. I said, if I say don't hold, if I say those words, there's a certain word I use. And if I say clamp, that's not the word, by the way, she'll bite you. He was peeing himself. He peed his pants. He peed in my shop. I seriously scared him. And I said, don't you ever come back. I said, Tana, let go, release. She backed up. She sat down, watched him. He went out the back door, never came back, but he left behind, no word of life, true story. But she held him. I've never had a great Dobie in my life, someone that's so smart. And Tana would have bit down, but she was all you heard from her noise, like all you heard from her mouth was like she's waiting for the bite, and she's like this. He peed himself, both sides. I watched. Oh man, that was back in '94. You don't get. It's hard to find dogs like that. You can keep. You want to train them. Like she was not. She was a watchdog, but her version, like when I raised Dobies, I raised Dobies where I can have a fence low and they won't jump over it, literally. And there's a couple of guys that were South Asian, and they were nothing but shit disturbers. I'm sorry, but they were teasing my dogs, and they'd take a stick and they'd bang on the fence, and I had pellet fences, little short pellet fences. And I know very well Spike, and I had him outside the driveway, and I had him all fenced off, so Spike would never jump it. I know he wouldn't. But you don't piss off a Dobie. And the guy thought he's going to get away with it. And that one day, this kid was just, I think he hated dogs, and he maybe in his country where he was from, he just hated dogs or told to hate dogs. And he thought he was going to get away with it by taking the stick and, blah, 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 come on, get me, come on, doing this. Well, I just said, Spike, get him. Spike went over the fence. No word of a lie. I said, Spike, get him. And he went, Spike just jumped over the fence. I mean, it was a very low fence. It was only table height. He never passed it, but I just get him. He went over the fence, and all he did was scare the guy. He chased the guy down the road. Okay. It was actually in our park, but he chased him down the road. I said, Spike, come on, heel. And Spike stopped, turned around, came back to me. And I told the guy, don't you ever come back here again. So that's all I did. Just a bit of a warning. I give people heads up. And Spike, he just jumped back into the fence, into the yard. And it's like, as if nothing ever happened. Like, what? And what I did, I had to put up a sign. Honestly, guys, I made a sign in Punjabi. I wrote it. I have a friend of mine who spoke in Punjabi. I says, write the words on there, like do not tease, watchdog on duty. And that's what he did. He put the sign on there, watchdog on duty. And that kid wouldn't listen to me it was a big sign. No, he thought he can get away with it and went after teased Spike, and Spike jumped the fence and went after his ass. And my wife was there. She watched it all. Yeah. We laughed our butt off, and all like I had a workshop where I was making, I had a furniture business, and I was in my workshop in my warehouse, and this is where this guy was being a jerk. So, let's see. My wolf dog tamed the neighbor's Rottweiler guard dog with the neighbors and went nuts. You know what? I'll tell you one thing too, and this is no word of lie, folks. Diane, this is for you for you. This is a good story for you. A lady friend of mine, actually in Surrey, here in BC, rescues, or when Sandy, her name is Sandy. Sandy used to rescue. I'm not sure if Sandy's around anymore. She's living out of town, but Sandy used to rescue wolves. She had a wolf. Um, a wolf rescue, I call it sanctuary, just outside of town, and she had 6 of them, a wolf sanctuary. So even crossbreeds, she took care of them, and I was very fortunate. She let me spend time with one because she knew that I was with wolves before. But one thing I learned I remember when I had Mercedes with me, and Sandy had the wolf with her on a leash, and Mercedes with me on a leash. I've never, ever in my life ever seen a dog bow down to a wolf. My dog Mercedes went down on her front 2 fours, like she bent her legs in half, went down and bowed down to the wolf as if he was the king. I've never seen my dog ever do that before to any other wolf. I'm telling you guys this. Wolves have something in their blood that makes them royalty. And the other dogs, regular common society of dogs, know this. They would never tangle with a wolf. And especially the smaller ones. They know there's something about their auric energy of a wolf. She bowed down, and she was scared. He didn't do nothing, just sat there like this, like just calmly. Never did nothing to her, but she bowed and her whole front. You know how dogs go; they can bring their front ends. She dropped in and just went down, and her nose was touching the ground as if she's bowing down to him, like, I'm your obedient friend. I was blown away by that when I saw that. I was like, "Are you kidding me?" It's like I was shocked, but again, that's how it works, folks. No, he had never. To this day, I know that guy will never forget, and I'm sure if anybody sees a Doberman, he will just run and hide. So Carolyn says, "I love the movie Dancing with Wolves." Yeah, that was Dances with Wolves. Yeah, they are pack leaders, Diane. Yeah, they are pack leaders. I mean, that's the way they are. They've been pack leaders for forever. But there's something of auric energy that this is what wolves give off, and something I learned about Spike. When I had Spike, as like I said, when Spike was a pup growing up, I was his best friend, and he protected me. I'm telling you, and Dad, like my father and my dad, like my dad and myself, he was right by. Like I've seen Spike stand between my father and me. Like Spike is in the center of us, and we're on the farm. And Spike would gather them in, the cows in. Like we had over 180 head of cattle, and he would bring them in like a collie, like a border collie. And he'd bring them in like a border collie, never hurt them. And but I'll tell you one thing: if anybody, and there was a guy, we had a neighbor down the way, just hated my guts because of his kids and me did not get along in school, or they didn't want to get along with me in school. So the father was an instigator, and he tried to cause trouble between my dad or for my dad on the farm, and Spike. If it wasn't for Spike, he said he was going to call the police. The neighbor said he was going to call the police and have my dog put down, or my Spike put down. I said, why? He says, because he's a wild dog. And I said, no, he's not. He's a cattle dog. He's not a wild dog. Yeah, he's a wild dog. And I said, he's a wolf. He's a wild. And I said, no, he's not. He's tame. He's actually a cattle dog. The stupid idiot called the cops, and the cops showed up at our place. The cops always come to our place all the time. This is on the farm. because he's always causing trouble. The police showed up. They knew my mom well. So mom says he's a cattle dog. You want to see how he works? So we had 4 RCMP officers watching me, showing them Spike corralling cattle, and they were blown away by that. They said this is the first time I've ever seen a wolf corral cattle. And I said he's never hurt any animal on this farm. He's very tame. He's very lovable. And 2 RCMP officers said they would love to have had a wolf as their dog, like as a command dog, like to do drugs, that sort of thing. I said, it could happen. It could work, think about it. And so, but when I got a few years after, I was ready to leave the farm. I was moving on, and Dad had Spike, and Spike did not want to. He wanted to take. Spike wanted to go with me, and I know I couldn't take him with me because in the city you can't have him. So I said, well, Dad said, well, what if Dad said I can't take care of him because he won't listen to me. So, but there's a farmer about 1.5 miles away that used to come by and visit me all the time, and Spike liked him a lot, and he also was a cattle farmer. And so the farmer came over, and Dad offered him Spike, because you want to take my son's wolf with you. And we'll go back and forth. Like he'll jump in the back of the truck and go help him out, and then come back and bring him back to the farm. And they switch back and forth to the point where Spike gets used to going there and staying there, because I was moving on. I was leaving the farm. It broke my heart when I left my guy behind, but I had to have a life of my own too as well. So now, was I practicing my skills as a reader? No, not back then. No, I was still young. I was 19. But I had a gift. I didn't know what to do with it then. I was trying to figure where I fit in this world. Okay, now Mother Nature and God provide us a time span with them. Yes. Someone actually wrote to me a letter that said, they said, it hurts when we lose our fur babies. It does. Extremely. It hurts me a lot, even if I'm forced to put one down. You're losing a family member. That's just the way it works, folks. You are losing a family member. It's not heartless, but I've always said to myself, I wish they could live a full life with us. Like if you're born in this world, and you know how parents are, they always, when you reach a certain age, like say you're 5, 6, or 8 or 9 years old, and then they bring in a new puppy in the house, and that dog's brought in and it grows up with you. I wish these dogs could live for the same length of time as we do. Like if we live to 75, then they live for 75 years. But there's dog years, not just human years, is dog years. So, if you go to the dog years, they are 75, but they don't have a full life with us together. And I asked Spirit that, and I said, how come we don't have our fur babies with us on a full life? And they said, because you have to seek out new adventures with new fur babies, like new young ones. So it's not, because if you actually had only one in your life, then you have not explored enough, because everyone is wanting to he said there would be an overpopulation of so many dogs that because there's more dogs than there's more dogs and cats there is human beings on this earth. But most people will pair them up, which will probably balance the amount that we currently do have. God does not agree by eating them as consuming, but there are countries that are consuming them. That's not good, but that's what they believe in, and that's been that form, their source of whatever they want to do. I don't like to talk about that part, but that sort of thing has happened. We're going to try and change that again, or change all that. Nobody's going to be able to do that ever again. But again, I've noticed a lot of changes in our Mother Nature. We've already had so many fires and in the forest these days, the forestries all over the world, and so there's a lot of animals that have been lost, that have lost their lives. And so there's a whole new group of young babies being born now as we speak. A lot of new fur babies that, I'm sure there's lots of kittens. I've seen so many videos of people actually are adopting, or I guess to say there's rescue centers all over the world And there's rescue centers where they have 20, 30, 40 cats in one building. But the cats, the place is not filthy. It's absolutely mint condition. These cats are all personally, every one of them taken care of, well taken care of. They're fed well. They're housed well. They got all the play toys, everything they want. They can climb up high, go down below, whatever have you. They're making sure they're not sick. They're all well taken care of. These are the true rescue centers, and I've seen so many good ones on whether it's Instagram or any social networks. Great. I mean, this is what you like to see. And sometimes people say, "Oh, that's a little bit too much. Why these people should have that many?" Well, you know what? Again, there's population control, right? And I'm not talking about human population control, but if we have too many cats or too many kittens, then you guys know what to do. Spay and neuter. But again, spay, and also, by the way, someone actually said to me, if you spay and neuter your animal, will they live a long life? Yes, they still can. They still can. Some people say that, well, they won't because you've actually changed their routine, their physical appearance. Not entirely, because as long as you are feeding them well, take good care of them, the proper food that's made, not cheap food, folks. Please do me a favor. Don't buy any more cheap food for your dogs or cats. Like, that's the reason why your dogs and cats don't live that long. If they're dying at 8, 9 years old because they're having kidney problems, well, the kidney problems had nothing to do with kidneys. Actually, it's what they eat that's in the food, because those are just genetically modified, organisms. It's lab grown, okay? And dogs and cats don't eat lab grown paper pretend replacements. There's no nutrition in it. It may look like it. Same with us. We don't eat GMOs. We have to eat natural foods. Okay, just like an animal, like we are walking animals too. We're walking 2 feet. There's actually birds walking 2 feet. You got your ostriches, right? Chickens. Do animals vibrate at a higher level? Yes, they do. In fact, if you look at this is maybe why 1 year is 7 for them. It's true. I'll tell you why. This use their how come dogs can eat certain things that we cannot eat? Because their digestive tract can handle crazy stuff. Their how to say it, their immune system is 51% greater than ours. Like, we can't always eat proper foods that don't digest well with us. So what the animals, that's why dogs can eat the craziest. And I've seen a dog roll into a dead mouse on the ground, and to them that's like a turn on. Oh wow, and they just rub into it. Now us, if we smell a dead rat, well, how do we feel? Ew, like you don't like the smell of it, because their nostrils are they sense it differently. Okay, they understand the way they see as themselves as how they sense things, look at it, taste it. They can eat things that we won't be able to handle eating. I mean, let's put it this way. Dogs can eat bones and chew on and chew on and chew on because they got canines, right? We can't chew on the bones, but at times we will boil the bones to eat the marrow because we need the marrow. Dogs are eating the marrow, but theirs is actually chewed on. Now they're getting the raw marrow. We're eating the boiled marrow. We have to soften the food because our stomach is different. But we're still getting the same consumption. We're getting the same the same digestion, but theirs is broken down as being a raw. Ours is broken down as being, but they're also eating the bone. We're not eating the bone. We are just, bone broth is so healthy. Exactly. Now right? The animals vibrate at a higher level? Yes, they do. That's the reason why. When an animal passes away, they're in a different dimension. Doesn't mean they're not in the same world as we are. they're dimensionally different. Like when they cross over, other animals are greeting them. Okay. Then when they come back, they are spending time with us. Those are passed away. They're spending time with relatives on the side. So if I had a dog that passed away that knew my mom, or if my mom had a dog that passed away after my mom passed away, that dog would pass away and cross over and be with my mom, if my mom so chooses. You see, so yes, it does happen. Hello, popping back in again. Still am at work, and I head out again. Yeah. Yeah, I love dogs. My dog is in heaven. Okay, let's see. Jesse says, I love res dogs. I do my best to give them the best, but it's drastically different here in the southern Manitoba reserves. The northern communities around Thompson really struggle at times with feral packs. It is. Here's a cool part. Maybe some people may need to do. If you guys can create, if you have not created, create it, what you call a rescue center, or a center where you can come by the communities where there's the ferals, and to work with the ferals, and to spend time with them. As long as they're neutered, you don't have to worry about the packs getting bigger and bigger all the time. Because there's actually a veterinarian that is in the States, and he opened up a feral center, which basically they would bring the feral dogs and cats in, neuter them, spay them, and then bring them back to whether it's on the reserve, because they work with a lot of people on reserves and reservations. So it's very, very common. Linda says, Gary heard that when we are in 5D, humans will be able to walk with wild animals. Is this true? Yes. Well, we have always been able to walk walk with wild animals even to this day. I've noticed a lot of stories lately of wildlife approaching human when needing help. Maybe you guys may not know this, but it is now. Someone actually asked me another question down here, which is in the bottom, and it says, "Do animals transition into humans in the next life?" Yes, they can. Every one of us actually was an animal in our past lives. Whatever we were at one time, we were some of these animals. We chose to take on the life and the zone of what type of, whether it's a dog, cat, or whatever we were. Maybe we were an insect at one time. We don't know. But we played the life role of everything in this world. We weren't just born as human. We weren't just born as a person. We're not born in the world to be a girl or a boy. We're born in this world to be whatever we choose to do. So that's why some people say, I've always wanted to fly like a raven. I want to fly like an eagle. Or I want to be, when I pass away, I want to be an eagle. You are. People may not realize God can send your spirit or your consciousness to the animal. I'll give you the story. I'll share a story with you. There was a young man many, many years ago in Squamish. I'm not going to mention his name, but he had passed away because of the situation, how he passed away, because he actually was a very depressed young man, and he had a hard time with life, and he committed suicide. At least I think he did. It sounds like he did. But he did not want to disgrace his family, so he did it secretly in the forest. Now, here's what I find interesting. There was an eagle that watched him do the suicide. And the eagle flew down next to him and died next to him. They found an eagle laying next to his side on the ground together. What I found out, that the eagle chose to step aside and let the young man transition into the eagle, because the young boy kept always wanting to be an eagle, and the eagle gave his life, his consciousness, for his spirit to leave and to go become this eagle. The eagle gave his life for the boy, so he would not go into a negative transition, that he would be welcomed to the transition of positive life, that God would not hate him. People may not realize, but many of our animals in our lives will sometimes give their life even sooner than they're supposed to leave. there are their owners. One sometimes, like a lot of their owner, for example, it could be in the military, and that person in the military could have passed away, and he could have owned a dog that was they were very close to each other. And you'll see many times, lots of videos that these dogs will go to the gravesite of that owner, and they will cry on that gravesite. The dog will lay there and not leave until he sits up and he looks suddenly as if he's looking off, like as if he's drifting off, like looking up towards the sun, so to speak. But he already knows that he sees his owner leaving, going in up. And the dog is watching the owner, the boy or the dog is watching his owner or his pet leave as if he's looking up its way, looking up into the sky, and then his spirit disappears. Then the dog chooses to stay, or he will also die of a broken heart. But he wants to be with his friend. And that has happened. There are people that are so close to their animals, and the animals so close to their best friend, that they themselves too will die of a broken heart and leave with them. That has happened. Diane writes, they did experiment with dogs that they often choose to die of a broken heart. It's true. They have. I pretty well got an idea when I know what happened, what was going on. Messes with my thinking because it's hard. I've seen it happen. Mother Nature and God provide us a time span with them, and we do wish that we have them with us always. And you'll see, I've been to graveyards where there's grave sites where I've seen where there's husband, wife, children, and dog. I'm not kidding you. Husband, wife, children, and dog, and it's right next to them. And most of the time they won't allow any dogs in a graveyard with the humans. Like why? It's like family. Sometimes what they'll do is they actually will secretly sneak in a cremated jar of their pet in their coffin. I don't know why they have this belief system that if you're not supposed to put your pet with that person in the coffin, and they'll think it's going to be like, oh, it's bad, it's going to be like a curse. Like, no, it's not. Okay, Nikki says we've had animals who literally cried during or for weeks after their fur family member has died, and we grieve, but so do our fur babies. Yes, because they miss each other, and that happens a lot. That happens a lot. I mean, that's pretty well almost every. Yeah. Okay, Diane says I used to visit a pet cemetery in Toronto. Yeah, animals are very. People may not realize, but animals or dogs mostly will bay at the moon. Like they'll look towards the moon at nighttime. They'll bay if they're outside. But they're saying they're baying at the moon, but actually it's the energy of the people that's in spirit. They face towards the moon because the moon is bright, so they think they see them that way. That's why they're not baying at the moon, but they're baying to their loved one, their family member, the human, towards the moon because they're facing toward, because the moon is bright. That's what they're doing. They're trying to see. I love it when people start making. They have all these crazy photographs of dogs and cats, and they make little quip stories about them. Like you'll see, I'm sure some of you guys have seen a photograph that shows a picture of a dog lying down, the cat's laying on top of his head, and it says above there, it says, it's cold out, wear a cat. Not a cat, but wear a cat. Or people love to dress up their animals. They'll put them in costumes. I'm sure you've seen lots of those. Those are crazy people, but they're good people. They love their animals. I mean, delightfully, they do love their animals, and they think it's wonderful. And now the reason why I'm talking about this too as well, why I just chose to do this subject, because there was a fellow by the name of Harold Sharp, who actually was a medium like myself, and he was well known in the UK. And Harold wrote this book back in 1966. And he was the very first person that actually wrote about animals in the spirit world. And then he wrote a second one that with color cover on it. But the first one actually was, these are his two animals. His two pets was actually there was a bulldog and a white cat. That was his two pets. That was his first original pets that he had, that he had in his life. And so he learned a lot about them through their eyes, so to speak. And he's telling the story. If you ever get a chance, you can always go online and just buy this little booklet. But it's a story that you don't often see. Not everybody actually talks about these. Not everybody has a story about pets. I mean, you see a lot of people that write stories about pets, but they mean really telling stories, like not just your own personal one, but many others. And I think it's really cool where you're telling stories about every other person's life, what they went through. And this is remember now, folks, this is 1966. So how were the animals treated back in 1966? Through society back then. I mean, this is way, way different compared to is today. Today, we treat like they always said, the pet industry is the second largest industry in the world as far as people like you and I spend money on. We spend more money on our fur babies and fur feathers, or our feather babies. No matter if it's a fur baby, fish, feathers, you name it, all those animals in this world that we raise, we spend money on them because we love them dearly. And we always want to be part of them. And that's the cool part. I've always loved that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to share a couple of pictures and see what you guys think of these ones here. I got some really cool, funny ones. I'm going to bring this one up and I put this on the screen. See if you guys like this. I got to do two screens at the same time. So just give me 1 second. Yeah. Eva says, on YouTube, I see short clips about a mailman and a dog chihuahua. Her name is Franny and the mailman is Dan. The dog can not wait to the mailman, or probably to see the mailman, and she always is out to him to greet him. Yeah, I mean, this is common for everybody. Okay, what we're gonna do is this. I'm gonna drop some screens on you guys and show you some pictures here. Give me a second here. Da-da-da. This is some really cool things. I think funny. Okay, it's cold outside. Wear a cat. I mean, think about it, right? How about this one here? Okay, let's try this one here. Let's see, bring that one up. Okay, Pakuzi Purdy. Pakuzi. We need some more catnip and some treats. It's just funny. And some of you kitties out there, they call this the creepy one. So that's just funny. Hide and seek level creepy. The cat is hiding behind the veil of the curtain. Because I think it's a curtain. Yeah, it's a curtain. It's hiding behind it. Hide and seek creepy. Okay. Okay, let's see this one here. Give me a second and bring that one up. This was interesting. How's that? I'm looking for some deer. Have you guys seen a deer? Nothing runs like a deer. Oh yeah, I like this one too. Okay. bring this back. Okay, I love these little funny jokes. They're really cute. I'm so not drinking with you, a-holes again. The cat's been shaved. Think about it. Oh my God. Let's see here. Let's give her that one there. Let's bring this one up. Where is you? All-time favorite. If the vet can't find them, then the vet can't take them. You see, I mean, like, we have fun doing this, guys. I mean, this is crazy. Let's see here. Oh, yeah. I got one here for you guys. Everybody owns a pair of Crocs, right? Or pretty well. Here's one for you guys. Crocs. Even the cats know you shouldn't be seen in public wearing them. Yep, that's correct for you. And let's go one more here. Where is it? I mean, the thing is that the hilarity and the fun you have with animals. Yeah, this is my favorite right here. I used to raise pigeons when I was a kid on the farm. My uncle used to raise them to show them in shows. Pooping on people in 12 easy lessons. Yeah. Drop and squat. So now you know. Yeah. A lot of fun. Okay, we're gonna have. Well, I'm still here, folks. So we're gonna have open lines. If you guys want to tell if you guys are interested, wanted to share your story about your pet, or if you've been dealing with experience about if you guys ever had a dream about your cat or dog, and that they give you some guidance in your life, and you're more than welcome to. The phone lines are open 360-566-2875. You want to share your story regarding your pets. If you guys actually have had a dream with your pet coming to see you and showing you something that you had to see, please call in. Okay, I'd like to hear your story for our listeners as well. And that'd be kind of cool to do. My poor little stand. I made something up here, homemade, but I didn't finish making it. I put tennis balls on the bottom of my keyboard. And the reason why I did it, they're on the stand so I can actually lay it on my knee. Lay them both on my knee. But if I move this around too much, they fall off my knee. So, or the balls will just slip off. Honey, at this age, I'm losing my balls. Okay. Let's see. On YouTube, I see short clips about, I gave that one. Okay, this one here. And that one too was, we've had animals who literally cry during or for weeks after their fur family member has died. Yeah, they do. That has happened a lot. Okay. It's amazing. Jesse says it's amazing too that the spiritual abilities of animals, dogs, starring things that we can't perceive, looking at or barking at spirits and supernatural things. They do, folks. I mean, people may not realize, but cats and dogs they're the ones that are, I tell people, cats are psychic, very psychic, and dogs can see spirits as well. That's very common. I've had many people even ask me to this day the same questions. The same stuff. They'll ask and say, well, my dog or my cat was staring at the corner in the house, and they're looking at it, staring at it, or they'll bark at the corner, and then you're like, why are you barking? Row, 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 row. There's somebody there, and they're looking back at you. The dog's looking back at you like, can't you see him, you stupid ass? And they're barking at them, and so it could be good or bad, we don't know. But most time, if they're barking at it, that means there's somebody in the corner teasing them. Okay. If it's not harming anybody in the house, that's just that they probably may not recognize. Or the dog, I've seen dogs get excited and they're wagging their tail like crazy and they're staring at the person in the corner. That means that person has passed away, in the family is there. We may not see them. The dog does, because the people that passed away let the dog see them. Okay. It's up to the people that passed away that we are shown, or they're showing their pet, or maybe that person once owned that dog or cat and they're saying, hey, I'm here, how you doing, and they want to pet them. I've seen a cat do a complete, like, standing up like this and waiting for its pet, and it's got his eyes closed, and there you can see this movement of the hair moving, and there's nobody there physically, but there's a movement of hair being moved, like as if the cat was actually being petted on the back. And I'm not touching my cat. My wife's not touching the cats, but I've seen cats in videos get petted by an invisible spirit. So that happens, folks. Okay. What else we want to talk about here too? Reincarnation. Yes. I just heard that one. Reincarnation. Do they reincarnate back? Yes, they do. They do dogs and cats. Yeah, all the animals will reincarnate. If they choose to reincarnate back to the same owner, they can come back as another puppy. They're probably a different breed. Not always expect to be the same breed. Or they come back as someone else's, another color of a cat. My wife, she said to me that she did a past life regression, saw herself on the top of these flat top pyramids, and she had this very large Black Panther as her companion. Okay. Black Panther is a companion, like a pet. And when in this life, she said to me that her companion came back, and that was one of her cats, and that was actually jet black. And she said, he reincarnated back. Tsitsi came back, and he said that he was my cat on the flat top pyramids. And that's why he was so affectionate to my wife, because their consciousness is like our consciousness. We don't know why we need to be attracted to that person, but we do. We don't know why we have to love them, but we do, or they do. And because they somehow, whenever you say to someone, you look familiar, like I know you from somewhere in the past, somewhere or whatever. And that's what it is all about. They're showing you the memory, or showing you, hey, I remember you. I don't remember where you were, but I remember you. And then that's how they become fond of you. That happened with a foster dog last night. Most definitely a visitor. Okay. Yeah. Eki. And that's what happens. People may not realize that a lot of dogs can see spirits. That's a very common thing. Let's see here. What else we got here? Let's see. Gary heard that when we are... Okay, I heard that one there before, Gary. Yep. Okay. Would be wonderful, perhaps. Okay. What's this again? I've noticed a lot of stories lately of the light of wildlife approaching human when needing help. Yep. Wonderful. That would be wonderful, perhaps mental telepathy. Possibly. We may have had past lives with these even wild animals. And I've seen people, many videos where a person would show up in a village and this elephant would go crazy to be close to that person, yet they would say, I've never been here before. The elephant somehow has a connection, or even whatever the animal was may have connection to that person, and say, I don't know why I'll have to love you. I want to love you, but I'm with you. And that person goes, hey man, I never even saw this animal before. And we have to remember we've had past lives with them. So by any means, that's what they do. They become affectionate. They don't know why. We don't know why. We need to be close to them. Or I've seen a lot of a lot of videos where the guardians that raise them as babies, like say baby lions, baby elephants, where they're tiny, and these people decide to take off for about 2, 3, 4 years or 10 years, and they come back, and those lions will remember those people that raised them as babies and become very affectionate with them. Like, I missed you so much. Where have you been? So they don't attack them. They actually love them. Like they were saying, oh my God, here you are. And they're more affectionate to that person that raised them from the beginning than the person that actually has raised them later on through the years. So it's different. Yeah, things do happen. Um, that's why I want to talk about this, folks, because everybody's been talking about past lives with animals, and why we're so closely related to, no matter what it is, it's part of our life. We have always had people do have a very strong attraction to animals of sorts, like in an indigenous tradition, or in a African American, or even any country really. Even in Ireland, Ireland and Scotland, they have a strong affection for horses. They have a strong affection for other certain types of animals to them. Foxes were actually really important in their lives, and as far as their culture is concerned. And same with China. China has affection for foxes. It's kind of interesting. They have a strong affection for foxes. To them, it's more that's a symbolic. They're symbolic in their own country. There's other Europeans, like there's some other European countries, like say for example in the Croatian or some other countries, they're very deathly afraid of owls. They're taught to be scared of the owls because they believe the owls represent death, and they don't. I mean, yes, owls are protectors of the night, but don't necessarily mean death. I mean, they are protectors of the night means that anytime that you ever deal, I've had owls actually cross in front of me, fly in front of me when I'm on the highway driving. That's telling me to slow down because there could be a cop around the corner ready to give people speeding tickets. And it did happen, like, okay, I'll slow down. There's a police officer pulling people over. So yeah, that's what our animals are always there to protect us. Oh, someone actually mentioned to me about birds flying into windows. Okay, you remember that story about babies? If a bird flies into a window, will a baby die? No. The windows used to be open for sparrows to fly through, but if the baby is sick, they would close the window, and the sparrow could not fly through, and the sparrow would die, and then they believe the baby would die. And that is not true. That's not the way it is. I'll tell you my story. When I was up in northern BC, I was up and working at Wilpsset, at one of the healing centers in northern BC, which is all part of the Gitxsan Nation. There was a place that I was heading to down the highway called Kitwanga, and heading out toward Kitwanga and Kitsgukula. Beautiful blue sky, clear blue sky that day. And I'm driving down in my truck, and boom, a bird hits my windshield. I get out, pull over, and it's a sparrow. Okay, full size sparrow. And I felt so bad that it hit my window. Now, how it came about, I have no idea, because I didn't see no birds flying, but this one here was just the only sparrow. Boom, hit my window. Okay, broke its neck and died. So I went out. I had a little bit of tobacco, and I put a pinch of tobacco and did a prayer and thanked the sparrow and asked the Creator to take the sparrow over, and sorry that I was in the way that he broke his neck and died. So I'm driving to the highway. I get back in my truck. I'm driving, not even a quarter of a mile. Boom, another sparrow hits my windshield. I go, what's going on here? I didn't see any sparrows like flying across the highway. Like, boom, my windshield. I pull over, and there another sparrow's dead. Okay, this is getting me crazy. So I do the same thing, same prayer. And I get back into my truck, and I pull out another half mile. Boom, I'm third time. Are you kidding me? 3 sparrow hits. Now, the third time I got out, I went to the side of the road and found the sparrow. But here's the kicker. I didn't find a full-grown sparrow. I found a baby sparrow that had no feathers. How in the heck did it actually end up on my windshield? There was no birds flying in the sky. Okay, so here is the story about what the meaning of the sparrow, and I'll tell you why the meaning of the sparrow. So it gives you an idea. They're all considered as a totem. Okay, so sparrows are significant um, in our life. So not everything they call the old wives' tale, but it's important. Sparrows have a variety of different spiritual meanings, including letting go of your worries, releasing any fears that you may have, following your inner voice, staying positive, and don't give up, don't give in fear, finding beauty in the simple things, celebrating the little things, and don't be afraid to take risks. Okay. I've had people tell me sparrow stories for the last 6 months, and everyone's telling me sparrow in the window, or I found a sparrow and it hit the wall or whatever have you. And then the next thing you know, they're going like crazy. People are getting upset, thinking there's a curse on them. No, folks, there's no freaking curse. Sparrows are not curses. Okay, you need to know this. In the terms of the symbolism, and it denotes how we as human beings connect with each other. Okay, sparrows are important to us. They're strong symbolisms. Now, the legend has it that sparrow is also the spirit of a deceased elder. That's in traditional medicine. So everyone has a certain belief system. As an ancestor, sparrow could move between heaven and earth bearing messages. So there's always something happening for all of us to see and hear and to give us guidance. So we think we're lost, but we're not lost. So as I speak about, even for any type of animal, everything has a meaning. They all have a purpose. So for me at the time, why did 3 sparrows hit my windshield, even from the beginning until the youngest? Because I realized then I was just beginning something, and I was sort of ending something that I had started, and I was beginning a whole new adventure. But I had to not worry what's going to happen next. And I remember that time when that happened to me. This is back in 1997, 98, where I was worried, thinking, where am I going to be from here? What do I do next? Okay. And that's what happened. Every time we are guided to go to places and say, you need to be here, you trust your symbolism, you trust your journey that you're on. That's what animals do for us. They show us the way, they give us guidance. That's why there's so many people lately today are shown bear claws or bear paws, the symbolisms of it. People are shown buffalo, okay, but mostly bears right now because we are in hibernation, and it relates to us even as well. And it's not just a native tradition, it is all of us, because each of us are learning to be like the bear. Okay, I mentioned to you before earlier, you can listen to the recorded program after. At the beginning of the show, I talked about what the purpose of the bear means to us. It is basically the wild wolf. Actually, the bear is actually a family member of the dog, because they're like a dog. They're like big giant dogs, but their way of life is, you got that generation between the wolf and the bear. They're both similar to each other. They're so similar to each other. I'm surprised that God did not say, here, you take the wolf and you have a female wolf falls in love with a bear, or the wolf falls in love with a female bear, and they have new kinds of uh, what new kinds of generations, but they have been doing it already. Thing is that society has to understand that all these animals are here placed before us to show us and teach us what to look for and what to see, and not to be afraid of. Like, there's no fear here, but when you have a pet in this world, and I've always said, when you have a pet in this world, this pet is here to provide you happiness and to provide you love, nurturing, because you are choosing the responsibility of taking care of like a little baby, but with fur. and you raise it as your own. The only, like I said, I tell people, they may not talk to us, but they somehow have an understanding what we're trying, because we're still talking to them like, oh, aren't you cute? Aren't you cute? Aren't you cute? And you're talking away, aren't you cute? Like, they're going like, what is this all about? What is he saying? You're just making a movement. You're just pushing me. And you're saying, aren't you? What? Oh, okay. I'll take that. You get it? Think about what they think. You be the cat. You be the dog. What are they really saying to you? Think about it. You know what I mean? So it's like a mirrored effect. It's fun. But animals want to trust you. They want to believe in you, and they'll do anything for you because they'll give you nothing but unconditional love. As long as you give it to them, they'll give it back to you. That's how it works. Let's see, what else is there? Anything else? That's pretty well it. Well, I want to thank you guys for asking questions on this program. I think you guys did a fantastic job. She says, Diane says, I get crows coming to me on your father's site. I get owls from mother's side. I'm not sure she's saying something. Oh, death omens arrived. Same crow came to the funeral. Yeah, I've actually, when I did an amazing funeral service for a twin sister. There was two sisters that one passed away, and they asked me if I can come out and sing a song for them, a drum, and I did an eagle song. They had the family had these white doves they're going to release for the sister that passed away. Release the white doves in the sky to honor her. And her other twin sister said that her sister has an affection for, like, a strong connection to the eagle or eagles. And so what happened was, when I was singing the third chorus of the song, everyone looked up in the sky and they saw this eagle circling, and they thought, oh, if we release these white doves, maybe the eagle's going to eat them. And I thought to myself, I'm not going to say a word. Just, when they're ready to release, I think they said the third round. So they released the doves. They looked up and the eagle was gone. So that's what people were worried about, thinking it's going to scoop out a white dove, but it didn't. It was there for a reason for them to see, and that's saying that the sister was there, that her spirit actually flew with the eagle. Okay, and so the white doves did fly, and none of them ever got hurt, but they returned home to the original master. It's kind of interesting. These are all homing pigeons. Okay, let's see. Linda says, I have a beautiful doe visit the past few summers to feast on my roses. She has no problem with me being in the yard. Would say that she is a teenager. Yep. Deers are cool because people may not realize deers represent self-love, self-nurturing. So this represents yourself. That's why they're around. Wow, that's awesome. Proof of the spirit. Okay. It's like I said before, folks, so many things can happen for everyone. We just have to believe in our heart that we are well taken care of by many. And we have a lot of animals around us all the time, always continuously around us all the time. And if you've had a pet when you're a kid growing up, they're still around you. Okay, in the spirit world, you're not just alone. Like, if you may have not have cats now or pets now, doesn't mean that you don't have. You'll, like I said before, when we pass away, when it comes our time, our pets will be waiting for us, and that's how it works. So, anyways, guys, I want to thank you guys for being on this program and listening and sharing your stories. And if you have any more questions, you're more welcome to send me Spirit Chaser 1. That's Spirit Chaser number 1 at gmail.com. If you have any questions you want to ask, I'm going to take this recorded program and place it on my Rumble page. And you guys please like and share all over the place. And same with YouTube. Like and share me constantly. So then YouTube can leave me alone. They keep on taking my stuff down because they say, you can't say that. I was like, guys, give it up, right? I still get people algorithming me. They're like, you're not supposed to say that. We don't agree with that. Well, guess what? Kiss my butt, as far as I'm concerned. That's why I record it and I can move it into Rumble. I don't have to worry about YouTube. People don't agree with what I talk about. That's their problem, not mine. I've been doing this for too many years. I'm enjoying working with animals. Like I said before, in my work, I have been doing cases to help find missing kids, missing people, as well as missing animals. And people at times are asking me in my readings, Derek, have you able to talk to people that actually had a cat or a dog that passed away? Yes, I can. I'll try. And so I'll try to describe them what they look like, because they could say, well, that so and so just passed away. Can you see them and can you feel them? I said, and I will show them something that they're the most fondest of, because sometimes you do get people that are in the or animals in the spirit world. They will show you something that they love the most. Like there's always something that was their favorite blanket or their favorite pillow or maybe a toy of certain things, but they will give you a detail of the toy. They'll give you a detail of the item. So just to give you an idea, that's really them. Or they'll even point out where they've been, so then you can track them or trace them after they crossed over and say, well, this is where they've been hanging out. So, okay, guys, thank you for being part of this program. I'll talk to you next week. And by the way, next week, I'm going to have Bill Hauser here. Yes, I'm going to have Bill Hauser here. This is the man that has the ghost box. We're going to be talking to the people that have passed away. They're going to have them come through the box again. Anybody else wants to be there to talk about this, let everybody else know that we're going to have the ghost box coming coming next week, next Thursday night. And by the time I can have my new studio already set up, you can see the backdrop of my studio is starting to look really cool, and it's going to get better yet. So, and I'm going to have a new banner behind me, and that banner is going to have the name of the show. So it'll be, there you go, done. So it'll look pretty good all the time. Because I have lost so many things to talk about every week. But like I said before, I want to talk about something different this week instead of always things about everyone's always talking about the negative things. I want to talk about the positive, because we need to talk about life in general and talk about our animals, because no one's really talking about our animals. And please, guys, don't eat your dog or cat. I've been seeing so many movie stars are saying, well, if you have a food shortage, eat your dog. No, you don't. If they want to eat their own dog, let them. But no. I've been seeing too many of this Hollywood stuff. That's crazy. You don't eat your dog and cat. Why? You love them and you want to say, oh, okay, love you and eat you. Right? Anyways, so you can take good care of each other, guys, and peace be with you. God with you all. May God be with you. May God be with you always.
Everyone lives, everyone dies. Everyone loves, everyone cries. Round the world we're all alike. So why is there war? Why do we fight? There's one sea, one time, one earth. So you and I gotta learn to live together. When one hurts, when one needs, we all gotta learn to live together. Peace, make peace, make peace, peace. Isn't it time, brothers, stop dying? Isn't it time, mothers, stop crying? Stop the fighting and the hate. We gotta make peace before it's too late. There's one sea, one sky, one earth. So you and I gotta learn to live together. When one hurts, when one needs, we all gotta learn to live together. Peace in peace, in peace. All right. together.